This is Work University. Hello there. Today I get to talk to Steve Henry, who is a stand-up comic in Los Angeles, and we get to talk about what he goes through behind the scenes when he's not on stage to prepare to become a stand-up comic. So if you've ever thought of doing stand-up, this is a great episode. It's a lot of fun too. Listen up.
Hi, this is Annalisa Felix with Work University, and today I am excited to talk with Steve A. Henry. He is a stand-up comic in Los Angeles, and he's done his show, or what do you call it, Steve? You do your set, you
Stand-up comedy.
stand-up comedy. You do things. You've done the Ice House, the Comedy Store, the Improv. These are big clubs in Los Angeles. So I'm excited to get to know a little bit about the work that goes up into what you do. So thank you, Steve, for taking time today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So how do you explain what you do as a stand-up comic? What does that mean?
Stand-up comedy, all that entails is you going up on stage and entertaining people, trying to make them laugh.
Right.
That's all it is. You just want to entertain folks the best way that you know how, whether it's through prop comedy or telling jokes that you know, or entertaining them with music and jokes. But it's
Right.
just trying to make people laugh. That simple.
Right. And that's what we see on TV. That's what we see on stage. What goes on behind the scenes? What's the work behind it? I mean, is there any kind of administrative things you have to do? And, what is it that we don't see as audience?
Yeah, the audience doesn't see a lot of the hard work that goes on behind trying to be a stand-up comedian. I think the number one thing is that most stand-up comedians are not paid. It takes a long time. I had a mentor who told me it takes about 7 to 11 years to really find your voice
Mm-hmm.
and start really living your life as a comedian in terms of financially.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what people don't see. Even though you might go to a big show and Eddie Murphy might go up and then a senior hall and all of a sudden you go up right after, you might not be getting paid. So
Oh,
because you could only been doing it maybe 2 or 3 years. So that's one of the main things that goes on behind the scenes. Another thing administratively is that depending on where you're performing, there's a lot of different rules. If you're at a bar, anything goes. If you're at a comedy club and they might be paying you, then you got to make sure you check in with the manager or, get the lineup so you know when you're going on stage. So depending on where you are, what city, what comedy club, there can be some different administrative things going on.
mm-hmm. Now, how much time goes into writing? Because the time that you spend on stage could be 5 minutes, but how much time goes on into putting all that together?
Right. As a stand-up comedian, writing is almost perpetual. It's hard to quantify how much writing goes into comedy. I have a friend who his goal is to write for 4 hours a day. So if you're a stand-up comedian, you're thinking, okay, this is my job, and my job is 8 hours a day. Then he's thinking half the time I should be writing. Me personally, I might write every now and again, a few hours here, a few hours there. Most of the time I'm writing on stage, I'm searching. So you can actually write on stage
Mm-hmm.
while you're working or just talking things out. Or you can sit down at a table and just write your jokes out on a piece of paper or a notebook. Or you
Mm-hmm.
can grab a laptop and go to Starbucks, do some people watching, and then comedy could just all of a sudden come to you and you write it down on your laptop.
Yeah.
Writing is interesting because, stand-up comedy isn't the kind of job where you go sit down for 8 hours at a computer and your manager goes, all right, this is what you need to do. And then you give him give him or her a deliverable. Stand-up is kind of this, what do I think is funny? I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write it. And then that night or whenever that show is, it could be in the middle of the daytime at 12 o'clock at Malibu. You go up on stage and you deliver anywhere from 5 to 20 to 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how far you are in the business.
Mm-hmm. So now let me ask you, do you take classes or have you been to writing classes? Or I know there are improv classes, things like that. Or is this just something you started on your own and, what helps you to, get your material?
Right. That's an interesting question because when I first started, it was because of a class. I've always wanted to do comedy since I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
but I started because I was doing a play, and the guy who was directing it was going to teach a comedy class, and I was like, oh man, I've been wanting to learn about how to do comedy. And so as a result of that, I took his class, and then I did a showcase, and then after that, I started going to open mics and networking and talking to people and going to shows.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you, is there an etiquette for the audience? Because, I've always wondered about hecklers, and as an audience member, I would freak out, for the person on stage. What is your thought on hecklers?
Yeah, hecklers are like, you can't get rid of them. Hecklers are like just normal people in everyday life. Like if you move to Los Angeles and you expect that driving through traffic is going to be perfect, you should probably move back to wherever you came from. Someone's going to cut you off. There's going to be a road rager. And sometimes people are going to stop you for no reason because they think they're in the right. You thought you didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So hecklers are always going to be there. Um, the most important thing for you as a comedian is to know that and to practice. So the best way that a comedian can be prepared is to practice as much as they can. Practice in the bar, practice in the back of someone's house, practice in an open field, practice at a charity event, church event, do clean comedy, practice at a nasty event. Like I just had a friend, not nasty, but I just had a friend who did a show and all the comics were naked. That
What?
trains you. Yeah, that trains you. So let's say all of a sudden that person gets a show and she has to perform in front of 300 people. I'm pretty sure she's not going to be scared because she's
Right.
already bared her soul. So she's
Yeah.
very prepared. So my thing on hecklers, I've had one heckler in the past maybe 5 or 6 years that got to me. And the main thing, like a friend of mine told me, he said, keep it funny. No matter what the heckler says, don't take it personal. Keep it funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't keep it funny. I took it personal. And I would say that's the only time probably in the past 5 or 6 years where a heckler has won. But
Mm-hmm.
they'll always be there, and hopefully you'll be at a show where comedians can handle hecklers professionally. And at the end of the day, though, it is a business. So if the comedian wants, they can ask the staff at the comedy club to just take the heckler out. That
Mm-hmm.
is an option.
Oh.
But we have big egos. We want to handle the heckler. But if you can't, you just kick them out because sometimes they're unruly and they get people are drunk
Yeah.
and they want the attention to be on them.
Right. How many years have you put into comedy?
Put in. Also a good question. I started around 2009. So I would say I've put in, how long is that? 7 years?
Mm-hmm.
But I actually started in 2007. Like the first showcase I ever took was in 2007, but I didn't learn how to cultivate it. I wasn't practicing and practicing.
Mm-hmm.
In 2009, I took another class at the Comedy Union, and that's where I learned that practice makes perfect, or as close to it as you can get, which basically means you need to go out and do comedy as much as you can.
Right.
In the comedy community, that's pretty much every night, or as many nights as you can get up. If you can get up 3 or 4 times a night, that's great. Some of us like to get up, 7 nights in a row every night, and
Right.
others, well, they'll do 2 to 3 times per night.
And that's got to be hard, especially for those working the 9 to 5s, and then you're going to get up on stage probably not until around 10 or 11, because if you're doing it free, you're walking on,
Exactly.
and I'm sure the sleep and the lack of sleep, but I guess if you have that drive to get it done, you're going to do it.
Right. I think you hit something on the nail there, and something on the head, and it's you have to have the drive in order to juggle all the things that basically the main cities of comedy are going to hit you with, like Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles. You've got to have some kind of day job or some kind of profession that helps you pay the bills and eat,
Mhm.
unless you're well off. There's a few comedians that are well off, and they still stay out until 2 o'clock in the morning. But for some reason, I mean, I have a day job,
Mhm.
but I love it, and I just keep going. I try not to think about how hard it is and not getting too much sleep.
Mhm.
Um, but at the same time, you can manage it. You can manage having a job, depending where your job is. There's open mics and there's shows all over Los Angeles. Like literally, I work on the west side. There's open mics down the street in Santa Monica. There's open mics over in Marina Del Rey. I know of shows in Inglewood and Gardena. So that's already 4 neighborhoods I listed. I can do 1 or 2 or 3 mics a week. And
Mhm.
then I live in Hollywood. So when I go to Hollywood, I am surrounded by open mics and shows, and I know a lot of people. There's no reason for that I can't get up and practice. And then, depending on how long you've been in the business, then we're talking about booked shows where you might get paid. And that's a different animal. So that you got to put in a lot more work. You got to talk to bookers. You got to know producers, know owners of the comedy club, have credits. So the longer you're in the business, the more credits you have, the more you can get on shows where you can get paid.
Right. So is it also about who you know then? Because you said you have to know bookers, you have to know these people.
Yeah, in comedy, you can't sit on your butt at home. Like it's so funny you mentioned that because today a friend of mine he put this post on Facebook that said, I'm sorry comedians, but I'm gonna tell you the truth. If you're sitting at home and then you come out and expect to go up and someone expects to put you up, it's not going to happen because they have no idea who you are. They don't know
Mhm.
your first name. They haven't seen you. You
Yeah.
have to constantly be out there and networking and talking to folks. And the comedy community is actually interesting because it is very, very friendly. It's very connected. If you ask questions, let's say there's 5 bookers in 5 different parts of Los Angeles. And let's say your goal this week is to introduce yourself to each one and just say, hey man, I want to do 5 minutes. I think I could do your show and I can do this. Some of them might be like, hey dude, go up right now. Or I got you going up ninth. You got to go up late.
Mhm.
Another person might say, well, I'll definitely put you on my show. I got a great show on Friday. Can you bring 5 of your friends? And that's another part of the thing is can you sell yourself?
Mhm.
It's a big part of it. And the comedy community is so friendly, it's so nice, it's so connected that if you open your mouth and ask, most of the time, guys are going to put you on. They're going to put you on shows
Well, that's cool.
and
Right
give you an
on.
opportunity. But you have to be ready as well, because if you're not that good and you're not ready, and they put you on a really good show, you might not get on another really good show for a little while. So just
Ooh.
make sure you're ready.
Yeah, because there's an element of business there because on their side of it, they are having their business open. They want to sell drinks. They want to bring people in. They want to charge a cover or whatever. And if
Yes.
you're not, if it's quiet in there, you're doing something wrong. That's
Right.
what it seems like. So the whole business aspect is really interesting. And I don't know, if people think about that, but thanks for sharing that. Go
I
ahead.
think some people don't, but it is super important. I think some comics really don't. They just want to get up there, make people laugh, and then go to the next place. But I think of it like this: I want to have my own show soon. So,
Mhm.
in addition to asking someone for some stage time, I'm also learning. I'm asking questions. How do you produce
Mhm.
this? How much does this cost? Do you know the owner? Are you taking money from the door? Are you getting money from the drinks?
Mhm.
So I mean, I think if you think of it like that, then you understand the other side of it. I've done tons of bringer shows. I've also had friends come up to me and be like, "Hey man, can you do this show?" They don't expect me to bring anyone, but
Bring your
I
shows.
think
What does
from
that
day
mean?
one, bringer shows means that a producer has a comedy show where they're pretty much thinking as a business. They want to have a comedy show, have people in the seats, make some money. So you're a bringer, which means you're bringing people to the show.
Mhm.
Most of the time, depending on the booker, let's say they require that you bring 5 people and only bring 3, they either won't put you up on the show because you didn't meet the requirement,
Mhm.
or they'll put you last
Ooh.
because there are other folks that might have 10, 20
Right.
people, and it's not fair for them, for their friends, or for them not to have an opportunity to perform in front of all these people.
Right.
Bringer shows are controversial in the comedy community, but it's a part of the business. A lot of these shows wouldn't be around if it wasn't for people who have bringer shows. But there are all kinds of different shows as well. So
Yeah.
you have to pick and choose.
Right. Now, looking at your background in stand-up, I know that you were raised in the Caribbean, New York, Philadelphia. Now you're in Los Angeles. Are you
Right.
did you come strictly to be a comic? Because LA is
Right.
it's a hard city.
Yeah, I actually I have a rare kind of, I'm sort of like Jamie Foxx in that I came here. I was bitten by the acting bug when I was like 12. So I've always wanted to be Eddie Murphy, but as an actor and
Mhm.
as a funny person.
Mhm.
And I know I was wanting to do comedy, but I didn't know anything about it. So I studied theater in college and in high school. And I always knew I wanted to come to LA to do acting.
Mhm.
So when I finally did that play, and my friend said he was going to teach comedy and how to do comedy and how to be funny, I was like, whoa, I mean, I've been waiting my whole life for this class. And once I took that class, I got a chance to combine everything I've always wanted to do, which is acting and theater. I'm in
Right.
one of the best places for that. So I came here to be an entertainer for
Uh-huh.
sure.
Mhm.
It just so happens I came here to be an actor first, and then I started learning how to do comedy,
Mhm.
and I just combined the two. But it's funny, mostly now I do comedy because of my day job, because comedy I can do at night.
Right. Yeah, there's
But
so
the
many,
the acting bug is still there.
for actors and, entertainers in general, there are so many, and Los Angeles is one of the towns where, people give up after
Right,
few years,
definitely.
and you're still here. Why are you still here? Why are you still doing this?
Because I'm still here because Runyon Canyon is amazing. I like
Oh,
to
yeah.
hike.
It's a good
No,
hike.
no, that's not. I'm still here because I love the weather. I love it here.
Yeah.
I've always known that, even since high school, that as an artist, and being an artist is a journey. You look at a lot of musicians. I think musicians and comedians and actors are a lot alike because it's hard for a musician to grab some drums or guitar, start playing, and in 2 weeks they're like, all right, we're gonna be famous because I'm the
Mhm.
best. Even if
Mhm.
you're the best, you have to practice every day for like 7, 8, 9, 10 years before you really get discovered, or you get an opportunity
Mhm.
that propels you into like the stratosphere of like being looked at all the time.
Mhm.
Um, it's something. I love being silly. When
Mhm.
I grab a microphone, I feel at home. I love being on stage. It's just if I'm not here, I'll be in New York
Mhm.
or London. I'm gonna be somewhere where I can be entertaining.
Right.
So that's why I'm still here. And I think I've been prepared because I grew up in Philly and New York. So, people say that LA is tough. LA is tough. I mean, you really have to be grounded, and you
Mhm.
have to have a strategy when you come here. Even though there's people who come here, yeah, I came here with $21, and then I have to go back home because I was broke. That's dumb because you're wasting time. When you come here, have a strategy. Build a nest somewhere else,
Mhm.
and while you're building that nest, come here every 3 months. Network. Perform here and there,
Mhm.
but build a nest is crucial. Headshots cost money. Even getting on the bus costs money. If you have a car, gas costs money.
Mhm.
So you got to have a financial nest.
Right.
And I'm still here because I have an engineering degree, so I'm a math person. I'm always looking ahead and planning and making sure that it's not time for me to go home. I don't run out of money.
Right. Now, let me switch gears here for a second. Tell me about your Where is Steve project?
Oh, wow, totally different. Where is Steve was a dream I had. I've always dreamt about driving across the United States.
Hmm.
So around the end of June of this year, I decided I was going to do it. I sat down for like maybe a week or two. I planned everything out. I planned the route. I planned how much everything would cost. I called a few people and said, hey, if I came through, could I perform or could we hang or could we go out? And it turned out that it was very positive. So I got into my Prius and I went to 48 continental United States between June 25th and around August 9th or 10th or something.
Right.
And along the way, I actually performed in Denver, I performed in Dallas, I performed in a few other places, almost performed in Montreal. I'm sorry, I went to Canada. I went to 48 states, but also went to Canada. I went to
Wow.
Montreal and Toronto. So it was like a 6-week project that I always wanted to do. And, of course you had the naysayers. They're like, Black Lives Matter. Your black guy can't be driving across the country right now. It's, there's a lot of tension. Who cares?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going.
Uh-huh.
So I picked up and I went and, it was amazing. And along the way, of course, I performed in Chicago. Along the way, I met a lot of great people. I have a guy now he's working on a show for me in Chicago. He wants me to come headline because I did
Oh,
a
wow.
show and he was really impressed. So
Right on. Okay.
yeah, we're Steve.net. Yeah,
Oh.
it was amazing.
Yeah. Are you being paid by Fanta for that?
Yeah. So along the trip, the common theme for the trip was that I took a picture of me drinking Fanta in every state.
Mm-hmm.
And I contacted Fanta to see if I can get sponsorship or maybe we could work together on something, but they never got back to me. No biggie.
Awesome. Well, it looks like
But
a
it
lot
was
of
fun.
fun. Yeah. So before I close here, where can you be found on social media? How can people follow you and follow your comedy?
Yeah, on social media, I'm always posting my comedy shows and on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, I, Steve Henry. That's ISTEVEHENRY. And my where'ssteve.net experiment that I did is www.where'ssteve.net. It's a great site because it has 48 blogs. So I wrote a blog about every state,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to make it as comedic and educational as possible.
Awesome. All right.
That's basically where you can find me: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, iSteveHenry, and then where'ssteve.net.
Awesome. Well, you know what, Steve? I want to thank you for letting me ask you these questions, getting into the behind the scenes and, the work of what goes into being a stand-up comic. I mean, I got to give it to you because, just to get up there, a lot of people are scared of, talking in public, but you're just, comics get up there, day after day and do, you're doing what you do. And I just give you so many props for doing that. So I think that's awesome. I'm going to continue to follow you. And, I appreciate, what you're doing to make people laugh. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, everyone. That's it for now. I'm Annalisa Felix for the Work University podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode, and thanks for listening.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Steve Henry, LA comic. If there's a job you want me to research or interview someone who's in that position, leave me an email at workuniversity4u@gmail.com. That's workuniversity, the number 4, the letter U, @gmail.com. Thanks so much.